was when you got released. Was it a surprise to you? Did it take you off guard? Kind of tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was a surprise. It was a big surprise because of the fact that like the day I got released, I did not see it coming. I knew I got off to a slow start that spring training year because at spring training we always have the physicals before you get started. Yep. You got the physicals. And in my physical, for some odd reason on the EKG, it came back irregular, like irregular heartbeat.
Really?
And sometimes it could be the machine, but to be safe, they needed me to go for a second opinion with the Cardinals' heart doctor inside of in Florida. Okay. But it just so happened that most of the cases you go in the next day because we have priority. But it just so happened that it happened during the time when he was on vacation, right? Yeah, how ironic. So because that he's Cardinals' heart doctor, and that's the only guy that they contract and they have any heart situation, I had to wait. So here, I had to literally wait. Like I think if we tested on Tuesday or Wednesday, he was going to be back in the office on Monday next week. So because of it legally, because think about that lawsuit. If something happens and they just be like, we'll just no. The moment that happened, they scheduled me for Monday. They said, do not touch or look at the ball. I thought they were playing.
Wow.
But literally, like, if I went to go bend down, you had the trainer be like, don't touch that. I'll get it. I thought, no, I'm serious. Like, don't touch that. Because hypothetically speaking, if you bend over and pick that bat up and do one swing and fall, and it goes on record that you took a swing when we have you waiting for a heart situation, that's a lawsuit.
Yeah.
So I couldn't touch a ball.
Wow. So
when everybody else is getting acclimated to mid-90s, days, every day you're in games, getting acclimated, pitching, I was just sitting cold. I couldn't do nothing but sit there. So when I got cleared after I saw him on Monday, get this, I saw him on Monday, but then we got to wait for the results. So Tuesday they cleared me, right? They got the results, but it was halfway through the day, so I had a whole 7 days of sitting.
Full week of sitting.
Behind everybody that I'm supposed to be competing with, right? So I got off to a slow start. So when everybody else is now have 7 days to get their swing and get their stuff, I'm starting from T, getting blown away.
And 7 days is an eternity in spring training.
Getting blown away with mid-90s, looking bad in the game in Port St. Lucie versus the Mets. They just blowing me up. Those Latins are throwing 95, and I don't know what's going on. Looks like a grain of rice coming in there. And what's tragic about that whole thing, before I got released, the 2 days before I got released, the ball became a beach ball.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I'm talking about hit a bomb. I'm talking about 2 doubles, just absolutely tearing the cover off. Like, now I'm back. Let's go. Literally, I show up in the locker room, like when I got released. I'm happy about life. I'm feeling good. I'm on top of the world. And everybody was loud on the bus and everything like that. But I guess the running joke then, well, not running joke, it's just that the saying was, anytime you saw the clubby, a particular clubby, outside of the clubhouse, you knew they called him the Grim Reaper. And some of the guys that's been there before that was riding on the bus, it was like, oh, shoot, he's standing outside. Oh, shoot, he's standing outside. Oh, shoot, he's standing outside. And that's filtering all the way to the back where I'm at in the bus. And the bus started to get a little quiet. And I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, yo, he's standing outside. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? That means he's letting somebody go. Anytime you see him outside, they want to catch you before you go inside, and you got to follow him to get the process started. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm looking like, I hope he's not there for me. So what happened was, that day, he didn't pull me. That day he didn't pull me. I walked right by him. But
sense of relief when you walk by.
Until I got around the corner, it's like routine. You go around the corner and you look on the board that tells you the run of the day and the working rosters for each team, from AAA all the way down to rookie ball, on what field you're going to start on and what roster you're working on. So every time I went in there, I always used to start with my working team. And if it wasn't in high A, right, if I ended in high A, so I looked at my high A roster, I wasn't there. I'm like, well. Then I said, did they move me up to double A? I mean, I know I was not on the double A roster. And I didn't even go higher. I didn't say, did they? So then I went down to low A. And at that point, when I was on the low A roster, I looked on the inactive roster to be like, did I get in trouble? I mean, because it wasn't on that roster. And at that point right there, it started to settle in.
Like a pit in your stomach, probably.
Yeah. It like going to the principal's office, that long walk, or you know you're in trouble. That empty feeling in my stomach started to creep in. And everybody else was just going through. And most of the time, the way I tell the story, most of the time that whenever you then leave that bulletin board area and when you go into the locker room, that's the locker room from AAA. AAA and AA is on the other side, and the rest of everybody is on the other side, right? Yep. So on my side, when you open it up, because we have younger players on this side, it seems like a flea market. You got, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. You got the blacks playing hip-hop over there in that corner. You got the whites playing country and everything in that corner. You got the Latins just blasting out everything, reggaeton and everything in that corner. It was just an absolute roar. But that day I opened up the door and it was quiet. But the locker room was filled. It was like death was in the room. So as I'm walking to my locker, and I walked in and I made a left, I'm walking into my locker and towards my locker, and I can start to see like people like not want to make eye contact with me. Like I'm looking at people and they're like shying away from making eye contact. And then I'm still walking because it's a long walk. I'm at the end, and people are like turning their backs, acting like they're working in their lockers. And remember, I'm Hollywood Beatty, so I'm the life of the party. So the fact that they're not talking to me is like telling me like what's happening. Yeah. And then what gave it away is how did everybody know? Is because when I got to my locker was clean. Oh boy. Like, how do you sit there and laugh it off? Like, how do you sit there when everything was on this upwards trajectory your whole life and you're staring at an empty locker? And the only thing that you can think about right now is to go find the clubby and say, what's next? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that right there was that was one of the turning points, if not the most pivotal turning point in my life was that release, because that was kick-started everything else.
When you got released, was your first thought about that first week that you missed?
A lot of that went into
How long did that like kind of stew? I would imagine, if I'm trying to put myself in your situation, I've never been there, obviously, but I just think of, man, the thoughts of the what ifs. Yeah. Did that consume you for a while?
Very much so.
Like mentally, how much did that affect you? I mean, I've known a lot of pro players, and and the end of a career is one of the most difficult things. I mean, it can send people into depression, depending on how their career ends. And like, how was that for you? Especially, I didn't know that part about the week, and like that does make a huge part. And I know for myself, I would be thinking about that, like, man, that, like, did you do that, or I guess how was that mentally for you?
Yeah, not right away. Not right away. I don't ever think I don't think I ever went to that being the reason. My time with the Cardinals was not always the best because of the whole thing because of the fact, going back to what we talked about, because of the fact that I played black college baseball. Seriously, it's a real thing. I got drafted in the 26th round, and I had some great stats, All-American status, first team All-Conference. I did everything, right? My batting average versus top-tier schools were great. I mean, I did it. I balled out. But because of that 26th round draft slot and money that I received was throwaway money.
Yeah, right.
It was laughable money.
The investment
wasn't there. Was a cut in half dollar to an organization. Yep. No disrespect, but it is what it is.
100%.
So therefore, my playing time reflected that.
Yeah.
I played every Monday and Thursday, it felt like. Yeah. So me not getting a late start in spring training, I did not take it from that.
Take it from that.
I took it from my overall, like my batting average when I'm with the Cardinals, if you look at the back of it, was 179. Yeah. So according to the back of that card, I was a releasable player. but it was because I never played.
Right.
I rarely played.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
That's when I got introduced to the business of pro ball. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Where it's not the best always plays. It's the biggest investments get the most opportunity.
Yep.
You understand what I'm saying? So therefore,
Totally.
that right there is what happened to me. So when I got released, I immediately went to that instead of I got to a slow start.
Yeah.
It was almost like I was doomed either way.
If you enjoyed that clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the full podcast, click right here. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you find this content valuable.